Alec, what's going on,
Zach.
man?
Oh, I don't know. Is it hot in here? Ooh, it's almost
Freaking,
like it's like a courtroom or something. Ooh,
it was pretty hot in more ways than one.
it
Uh,
was. Well,
and
I mean, yeah, I guess if you in certain ways, I suppose.
yeah, so in case you didn't know, we spun the wheel. Chance Time's a series where you spin the wheel to decide what we're going to review the next week. This time it was Netflix, 10 random Netflix shows, and it picked Devil's Advocate for us to watch, which is one you had heard
Yes.
of. I had never heard of it, even though it had some notable actors in it.
Yep. I had friends in high school that were fans of this movie. I'm not entirely sure why after watching it.
Mm.
I mean, like I guess I kind of get it. I think maybe because it's like it's a little darker and edgier than most movies people were talking about. But it is a strange pick out of like all movies for high schoolers in like the mid 2000s to be into. But
Well, this okay. So this movie was a little wackadoodle for me. It was a little wacky, a little out there. I
a
mean,
little wacky.
well, it got a little zany, a little bit. It went, it like the first half of the movie was like normal stuff, and then there was like a tiny like hint of weirdness in there, but then like it just started going off the rails. This crazy stuff was happening.
I I don't know. They were kind of throwing down some intensity pretty early on. I felt.
In like what? In what way?
Well, I mean, there was all kinds of like. So I'd say I enjoyed the film for the most part. Didn't blow my mind.
I still don't know if I like this movie or not.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping if I can really figure that out because I even though I enjoyed it, like I don't know if I'd ever like want to rewatch this movie or anything like that. Um, I'm
Yeah.
hoping maybe we can sort of figure it out in the discussion, but um, yeah, I felt like there was a lot of like foreshadowing because like I kind of already knew the more or less the whole like is it a twist at the I guess I didn't know any of those the
Right.
bigger twists quote unquote at the end, but I could kind of see those coming telegraphed like half a block away.
Yeah, like I didn't know about the whole. I thought there would be some sort of supernatural element to it because it was like
Yeah,
Devil's Advocate,
right.
and then obviously the way they present what's his name, John
John Milton,
Milton. It's like
who by the way that's the name of the author of Paradise Lost, which this clearly drew inspiration
okay,
from. Um,
well,
which
like
is that's a book by John Milton about Satan more or less.
mhm.
Um,
It's like I mean halfway through the movie you can kind of it's like I was like this guy's the devil, right? That's what it is. Uh,
yeah,
but yeah, I didn't know necessarily it was really that final whole sequence. I didn't know it was gonna go that intense
yeah.
into
That
it.
final whole sequence was weird.
It's like
It was weird. It was weird.
straight
I
up,
will give you that. It was
straight up. Keanu, what's the name? Kevin. He's straight up
Kevin
just having
Lomax.
he's having a
Ke-
whole dialogue
Ke-
with
Kevin Lomax.
Kevin
Yes.
Lomax is having a full on dialogue with his Satan father, and it's just
Hmm.
that's where we are now. Then of course they did the gotcha right at the end, where it's boom back to the beginning, and that was something as
Yeah. See,
well.
that's what I don't know. That's what I don't know how I feel about.
Yeah, I don't know if
Like,
I liked it more or less when it was just getting outrageous into straight up satanic stuff going on, or if like them taking that away was like even cheapened it more.
that's what I mean with it. There was lots of hints to that earlier on because you had like because you had like when he was going and meeting the first guy that he got off when he came to New York, all these like cult things. There's all these like satanic looking statues, what have you. Um,
Mm-hmm. Right, right,
uh,
yeah.
uh, yeah, when he's sacrificing that guy's sacrificing the goat or whatever for who knows what reason he gets him off
Straight up blood magic.
because I mean so looking back at that it's like obviously that guy's like a Satan worshiper because duh that's why he's has so rich and like that's why he's like buddy buddy with John Milton because it's like yeah like he's the
Yeah.
um but like with that he was like oh well the guy's not gonna speak the guy's not gonna be able to say anything
Mm-hmm.
and straight up in like the hearing to get the case dropped, the guy just like has a coughing fit and can't object to anything, which is weird,
I
but
also thought
okay. Like,
the judge and like the whole court proceedings was a little sloppy. It's like he was just letting everything slide. Like he just brought up this piece of evidence. He's like, "Yeah, I'll take it in." But yeah, next time, next time, don't do that. And
yeah,
then,
there was a lot of like weird like legal stuff that was like, I don't know. I mean, because you can't. There are some cases where it's like it's admissible to bring in new evidence in the court, but typically not when it's going to be like
mm-hmm.
completely changing the whole course of the case. Like that's you can't just submit new evidence like on the floor like that.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm assuming that you're referring to the beginning of the
Yeah.
movie. Yeah, that was weird.
There were a couple moments like that where it's like this guy's just like really lenient towards Kevin in a lot of ways, and then Kevin's just straight up yelling at a child. He's
Yeah.
like,
Well, I mean, yeah, he's made his decision there.
right. He went from
he
like
made his-
being disgusted with his client to just straight up, I'm gonna yell at this child to win this thing. Like I'm.
Well, no, that's
full stop.
but yeah, that's the whole point. That's the whole
Yeah.
point, right? He's like, nah, I'm not gonna listen to my conscience. I'm just gonna go for it and
Yeah.
do what I'm supposed to do, quote unquote.
That's
And
that's kind of where my
berate a
problem
child,
with
yeah, and
that's where my problem with the movie kind of started, is because I didn't find really there to be many likable characters throughout the movie. You know, like even our main guy is just he's not really a good person the majority of it, and then all the new characters they introduced are all like corrupt people, and it's like, yeah, I get it. It's and then at the end it's like some sort of moral redemption, I guess, when he shoots himself and then resets it.
he learns personal responsibility. He learns to not waste the numerous opportunities to exercise his free will. Basically, this entire movie is just about that concept, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Paradise Lost meets Faust meets the Screw Tape Letters. It's like kind of like everything all combined together. Like, you know, you got deals with the devil. You've got the devil is a slick lawyer, like a legal bigwig. But yeah, you have him having all kinds of offering plenty of temptations for our. He's not really a good person, but he's the guy we follow as our protagonist,
Mm-hmm.
is what you'd say. And yeah, him indulging in them, but the one he indulges in most of all is his vanity of himself. He's very much focused on his career, and he leaves everyone aside. And yeah, he's kind of a terrible person. But I mean I think the whole the whole point I got out of the movie was that, like, yeah, you can do some horrible things and you can be a horribly selfish person, but there's always going to be an opportunity that you can take a way out when it's presented to you. He wasn't even as far gone as he was, like to the point where Satan's like, hey, your half sister, have sex with her and create the Antichrist, which by the way isn't like that. That's like not in the Bible at all. Like I'm not sure where that stuff came from exactly. There's a lot of like Rosemary's Baby and The Omen and stuff with things like that. But I'm actually really interested in looking into that. So I'm interested in kind of figuring out like where this like all these like weird pop culture sort of things of like the Antichrist came from. That's kind of interesting. But that's sort of an aside. But like as far gone as he was, he still ultimately had a way out. And yeah, it came to the point of like his own life, having to take his own life. That's his way out. But of the scenario that he's in, not saying that like, hey, you should just kill yourself, whatever. But like in this extreme character study scenario, he was able to find a way out, and then like boom, reset.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the reset was intended to. I think the reset is intended to sort of be telegraph to the audience that there is always a way out of a scenario, in which you're, you know,
But
you've put yourself in. But then, of course, at the end of the movie, he starts going down that path once more. So it's like,
yeah,
yeah. So it's
I was wondering whether they were trying to say that this all wasn't like anything to do with, like, it wasn't straight up he actually encountered Satan and whatnot, but it was actually just a representation of that in his mind or something. You know, like when people wake up from a dream kind of thing. Or if it was actually a thing. But I guess they did do the final shot at the end where he transformed his face into the John again. He's like, "Vanity's my favorite sin," but that still
yeah,
could be like just a representation of it, of the
yeah,
morality.
maybe. Yeah, it's kind of it's an interesting yeah. I almost would have just preferred. Yeah, maybe I almost would have just preferred it if they just sort of left it at that. But I guess they wanted to really drill home the idea that, like, hey, this is like, hey, he's indulging in vanity again, like that kind of thing. Like, um, maybe that was just the way they felt best to telegraph it. So I think one of my kind of problems with the movie is that it felt like half the time it didn't really necessarily know what it wanted to be. Like, it in one sense it's going in this like sort of philosophical bent, like particularly towards the very end is when it like really plays the full cards, where it's like, no, this is a story about like free will basically. um but like there's so much like legal stuff and him being a sleazeball and like his all the horrible stuff that's happening to his wife and him not taking care of her and her horrible like psycho like horrific visions of everything happening. Um, and all that stuff was like super effective, by the way. That stuff was like really like they. So while the cinematography for the most part was fairly like it's serviceable, like I didn't there wasn't anything like overly slick or interesting. I'd say overall it was very effective at creating the right tone for the right moment. Like all those like weird like vision nightmare scenes were all like done pretty well.
Yeah,
Um, so like but that's the thing is that so it didn't know like what it wanted to be. It was like a supernatural like horror film or like a legal drama or like
right.
like there it didn't feel like it ever meshed completely as successfully as it was trying to do. Like at least not for me. I think that was kind of my problem with it. It was trying to kind of do too much, and it sort of got a little lost in between. At least I don't know. I don't know. What do your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think so because they were being a lot more subtle with it in the beginning, and then it's like back half of the movie it's just heavy-handed, like this is crazy stuff happening now,
Yeah.
and then the
Well,
payoff.
you need that build up in a kind of a horror film,
Mhm.
and I think or even just a thrill. It's like what would you even classify this movie as? It's a legal drama, supernatural horror film.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't find anything to be like actually scary, so I don't know if
No,
maybe.
there was nothing necessarily scary. It's more the underlying sense of dread.
So it is like, yeah, they described it on Netflix like one of the words was ominous. Like, okay, yeah.
That's actually pretty accurate.
So I guess it's more of a thriller, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's a drama in a way. But see, my problem is that the payoff in the end, the whole big like revelation where he shoots himself. I laughed at that. I thought that was fun. That was funny.
I liked it until the weird cutaways with everything else that was going on, and then I laughed too because it was just like
Jesus.
it was just Al Pacino going like ah, and it was just like
No.
I was just like, what is going on?
I was like, okay, they're just going
Like,
off the rails. This is wild.
Yeah,
But that was supposed to be
that
like
was
a
weird
serious moment, right?
or
Think it
something.
is.
I don't.
I think it's
I
supposed
think
to
it
be
was.
like,
Yeah.
wow, he really.
I
After
think
all this,
it's hampered by the fact that this came out in 1997
Yeah.
and the special effects were not great.
But I do like how that was the test. Like the test of his moral ambiguity in the end was like, will you have sex with who you know is your sister now? Are you willing to go that far? No, he isn't. So he's good. He's redeemable. Um, like it was just so. I like how they just throw in at the end. Yeah, this redhead that you were like obsessing over the whole time. Yeah, it was your half sister, so you gotta plant your seed in her now. So we're just straight up. Uh, we're hoping you're just completely morally gone at that point. So
Right, it's supposed to be incest produces the Antichrist or whatever, something like
sure.
that. Yeah.
But that there was like once you got to the boobs, right? You got the naked boobs. That scene where they're trying on the dresses, right?
And
you got
then
naked
she
boob.
turns into like creepy
She
face.
touches the boob and then just starts morphing into creepiness. And they're like, wow, okay, the boob is what triggered it all. And then you had the wild scene where he kept, what's her name, Mary Ann, kept transforming into the redhead, like
Yeah, it was
during
weird.
the very heated sexual scene.
Yeah, it was that. Well, see that like stuff like that. It was like that's what I mean with the underlying dread and like the horrible, like the ominous sort of feeling. Like that's when it really started to that for me is when it really started to ramp up was the fact that he's supposed to be making love with his wife, and like it just keeps switching back and forth with this woman that he's been clearly lusting after, and then it's just like, and then he finally like flashes back to his wife and she's like, no, you're not here. Like, and it's just like, it's just like, it's just a feeling that makes you feel so gross.
Yeah, that felt
And
gross, and even just the scenes with John and Marianne were that felt gross during those too.
Oh yeah.
He was just
Yeah.
like he was a creep from the beginning,
Oh yeah.
and
Totally.
I didn't
But
really.
he has like a weird. He has like, but like the no woman is turned off by that. Like it's like that. That's is because in a normal circumstance you'd be like a woman would be turned off by that, right? So there's something else about him other than the fact that he's being a creeper.
Yeah.
It's like it's just like giving off like, oh, he's like listening to me and like, I'm like ignored, but like he understands me and like it's like that weird. It's that's sort of the supernatural element there, where he has this weird kind of creepy power that like over women, and it's like, yeah.
But you know how certain villains have like this charisma around them. I didn't feel that with him like until more towards the end when he was like full on devil. But like when it was the middle part, I just found it uncomfortable to watch the scenes with him. I didn't like enjoy him as a charismatic character.
Yeah, it kind of to me it was sort of back and forth because I think Al Pacino was great in this film, but yeah, no, I kind of agree with you. I feel like there wasn't like there was something, yeah, there was like just a little bit of something missing in the charisma department, and I think maybe it was more to service the fact that he's like, I'm on top of the world kind of mentality rather than I'm suave.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more like the power dynamic there rather than like straight charisma. So, yeah, I kind of agree with you.
Yeah.
But
Also, was it as noticeable to you as it was to me in the pure composition of the movie how so many times it'll just cut from scene to scene and like with no warning it'll be like unrelated scenes. Like there was one, it just does like a soft cut, but it's like boom.
Are you talking about like the party scene where they're just like all the sleazy legal people are all talking and it just like cuts to a group talking and then it cuts to like what Marianne's like walking and then it cuts to like another group talking?
Maybe.
There's like that was the one scene where I felt it where I was like, hey, here's the sleazy high society people all smoking and talking ill about the small people down below. Like that was like that scene.
I noticed it a couple of times where it was like there was like a full boardroom of people talking, and there was like 10 seconds of that scene, like just go around and introduce everybody, and then cut. We're into like an office with two people, and then it's like cut another thing, and it just kind of I didn't feel like they did a good job of putting it together more naturally. But
I don't really remember it being that jarring. But yeah, I mean, I'll take your word for it.
It's just me that it felt jarring. But yeah.
What did you think about Keanu Reeves in this movie?
I don't know. I like the more impassioned moments, like when he's like angry about stuff. I kind of like those ones, but
I found his phony accent very distracting.
yeah.
I found that because there were times where he just completely abandoned it, and then he'd pick it back up again, like all of a sudden. And it was like, whoa. This is also kind of during that weird period of time. This is pre The Matrix, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So this is during that really weird time where it's like post Bill and Ted, and Keanu Reeves is like kind of trying to do action movies and like serious dramas, and it's just weird because like he's Keanu Reeves and he's Bill and he's Ted. So it's like I get that it seems like he's trying to, he's probably really just trying to like move away from being like typecast like the surfer dude, like whoa, where this is very different from that. Obviously, it kind of works. I think I liked him, but like I said, the accent was very distracting.
Yeah,
I found.
yeah. Yeah,
I thought he
definitely.
was fine. I think I know everybody kind of like at least for a while people would rag on Keanu. It was like a 2000s thing. But I thought he was fine.
Charlize Theron was pretty good.
She was great. I mean, she had to like have a friggin' mental breakdown throughout the course of this movie, and she was great. Yeah, she was great.
She definitely had. There was a lot more depth at that point. Like before that, it was kind of one note. She was kind of there for the ride, but
I'm his wife, basically. Yeah, and then it was like, oh, yeah, yeah. There was a lot going on there. I almost like. I mean, I guess the whole point of it was that we're supposed to kind of like, since we're following him and he's being so distracted, he's not paying any attention to his wife. She kind of does get lost in the shuffle a little bit. So I almost wish we got like a little more of that, but
right. It's like she had no agency in her life, right? Like it was all dependent on how Kevin did everything.
Yeah, and that was I guess that was kind of the point, right? So like she was completely like at his whim, and he didn't even like he basically didn't take care of her. So,
but it's like
despite having every opportunity to have.
But it's like she doesn't get to go on her own little moral journey with the devil and then reset everything. Like it's all Kevin. Like he's the most important man.
Because this is because this is what the character study's about. It's not about her. It's about him.
Yeah, but I mean, if it actually is resetting it, like I don't know why this guy. I guess he's the son of the devil. Is that right? Is that why? He's that
I guess sure.
But I just feel like she was only a. She had no agency in her own life. Like she just went off the deep end because of Kevin. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it was the effect of him not tending to his wife, of not like listening to her. Like she had. Yeah, I mean, like you. Like, I don't know. You could make the.
She went crazy, but she wasn't really crazy, right? Like she was seeing actual freaking devils and demons among us.
Yeah. And then she was straight up like raped by the devil.
Right, raped by the devil, and then killed herself because this demon woman showed her the reflection.
Yeah.
That was cool. Very cool.
That was great. That was my favorite scene in the movie. That
I liked when he was
at all.
So yeah, the final sequence is where it really goes just full on. That whole dialogue with the devil. It's really something. Mm-hmm. It's really something. I mean,
that is actually. I'd say that is. I did really like that scene a lot. So it kind of is. It kind of was. Took the wind out of the sails when you got the real like goofy at the end. But I thought the whole dialogue was good.
It was interesting, but also it was like, wow, this is really. It's not. There's no more subtlety at all. It's just we're straight up in the supernatural now. But Al Pacino was really good for the most part in that scene.
Yeah.
Keanu was pretty good too, but I liked how he was talking about us the goof. He was talking about it's the goof of all time, something like that. The goof of all time is because God makes the rules in opposition to instinct, right? So that's like the devil's argument. It's like, oh, well, I'm just letting you do what you want to do naturally, so I'm the good guy here, basically.
Yeah.
He's the sick guy looking down, laughing at you guys.
But ultimately, it's his own. He's leading himself into his own ruination by doing so.
Mm-hmm. Which, of course, I didn't know this was a rule that once the son of the devil shoots himself, then everything just catches on
Then
fire,
he's. Oh
and,
yeah,
and then the freaking sister who turns into like a
a
corpse,
corpse. A dead.
and then freaking the devil explodes or whatever. It was just
Yeah, he turns.
all hell literally
He
broke loose.
he turns into Lucifer and goes back to hell or something. Yeah, it was a
It
little
was
unclear
just
as to what happened
chaos.
there.
It was
Yeah,
like
it was.
boom, and I thought that was funny to begin with. That he was like so serious in the conversation. He's like, you know what, free will, and he just was dedicated to the delivery, and then boom, and then fire, just absolute chaos. So I don't know. I don't think I would ever watch this movie again. That's I don't think I would.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would. I mean, maybe if somebody was like really like, oh, I've never seen this movie before, and I'd maybe wait around just to like, just to see how they react to the very end. But the problem is this movie's so long.
It is long, and
I don't know if it had to be 2.5 hours long. That's another one of my problems with it.
yeah. Also, I forgot to mention the weird invisible running people. Like,
Oh yeah, what the hell was
that
that?
was a weird sequence too. And then they just
that was-
these people just come up and beat him to death, and that was epic too.
Oh, how'd you like Mr. Incredible in this movie? He was in this movie.
Mr. Incredible.
Yeah, Craig T. Nelson was the guy who murdered his
that guy.
wife and his. Yeah, he was Coach in the '90s. He was in a TV show on NBC, I think, called Coach. Yeah, you could hear it on The Voice sometimes, where it was like, "Oh, Mr. Incredible, you killed your family. That's kind of dark."
There's so much blatant corruption. Like I remember at the party where she was like, "We'll just get someone to run a hit story on them, and we'll just ruin their life or something." It's like, oh, well, let's do
Yeah,
that.
and there was like, there was like a weird, creepy like incest type thing with that too, right? Where you like saw him like touching her back or whatever, and then it like flashed and it showed the guy from the beginning and
Yeah, he was touching the back, and it reminded him of the way he was moving.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This movie starts off in the most
Dude,
pleasant way
the weirdest.
possible. Where the guy that he's trying to that he's defending, there's like a little girl that's like breaking down on the stand because of her math teacher molested her, and like his defendant is like touching himself to it, and it's just like, dude, this is how this movie starts. I was like, oh, I'm in for a
Oh, no.
happy feels
no.
time.
All right, anything else you want to say?
Donald Trump is mentioned in this
Donald
movie.
Trump, I didn't notice that. Donald
Like-
Trump was supposed to be here, but he was what? What was he doing?
He had said he had an emergency meeting, and she
Right.
said something about talking with Mark Zuckerman.
This
And I looked Mark Zuckerman up, and Mark Zuckerman was like a financial consultant, I
Mhm.
think,
Okay.
in New York City. I don't know.
I'm surprised they
but-
didn't just get a Donald Trump cameo in here.
Yeah, he could have.
Just like,
Well, here's the
"Hey,
thing.
Kevin."
I actually looked this up. They used one of the executive suites in Trump Tower for that meeting with the Craig T. Nelson character.
Of course.
So that really nice place.
Right.
It's like you get all the mirrors and stuff. Yeah, that was in Trump Tower apparently.
So, ratings. Let's give this a rating. All right, I'm gonna give it a 6.5 out of 10.
Okay.
Right, because I don't think it was bad, but it's like it's only good for me for the most part. It's like there's a couple moments, but it's only good kind of conceptually. Like I kind of get it, but the execution isn't great for me for the most part, and then it kind of goes too off the rails for me and a little wacky. But 6.5. I gave the Lion King remake a 6.5. I feel like that's about where it should be.
Okay. I think I enjoyed it a little bit more than you did. I'm gonna give it a 7.5. I liked the philosophical stuff a lot, and I wish the movie had like doubled down on one way or the other. You're gonna make this a legal drama. You're gonna just do it an interesting exploration of the idea of free will. You kind of pussyfoot around, and then it's like, we'll go free will at the very end of the movie. So that's kind of my problem with it. It's not a perfect movie. I found the acting was good. It's fine, but yeah, it's nothing that's gonna blow you away.
It's a pretty high
ever
score.
again.
That's a pretty high score.
Yeah, I mean, it was good. I thought it was a well acted, good movie. I mean, I didn't think it was phenomenal, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, but I would consider 7.5 for me as a movie I would rewatch. That I wouldn't mind rewatching.
I mean,
But
okay.
you would.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I had my fill of it. I don't need to see it again. Maybe I'd watch key scenes from it again. Maybe that like last scene I'd watch again.
Mhm. Okay, that's gonna give us a 7 out of 10. Tarqaron score.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. In conclusion, yeah, not exactly what I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting, but
I think I got more or less what I was. Well, no, I don't know if I would say that either. A lot more legal drama than I was expecting. A lot more
Right.
legal drama. I was like expecting like this to be like borderline like Constantine like levels of like supernatural stuff, but like it wasn't really that. So
All right, so that's it. Okay, so stay tuned in the future for more Chance Time. These are always fun. It gives us a wide variance of good and bad films to partake in. It'll be great.
yeah, maybe next time we'll see it. We'll see a good old 3.0 film. You know?
3.0, 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Give it to me.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, what video would you recommend our viewers go and check out if you just watch this?
Go watch our Haunting of Hill House review in preparation for the Haunting of Bly House, which we are definitely going to be watching and reviewing on here.
It's a better horror production.
Much better. Much
more
better than this
scary.
film. Yeah.
All right.
And just more interesting human drama, I would say. I mean, like,
yeah.
philosophical stuff aside in this, which is really what gave this film any sort of interest. Like, if you didn't have any of that stuff, I feel like I would have been very bored. So,
yeah.
yeah.
All right, check that out. All right, and take care. All right, subscribe and hit that notification bell.
Yeah, take care of yourself. Take care of your.
And remember, always
family.
be kind. And yeah.
What is this, the Ellen show now?
Yeah.
We're gonna have all this. Okay.
That's right.